This is part 2, identifying the harlot of Revelation 17. Let's get to it. And it reads, Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, Come, and I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and with the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. First, you will notice the harlot here is being judged for exact same sin as Babylon in Revelation 14:8, which is making all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So apparently, Babylon and harlot are one and the same, or at least they have the same agenda. So the question is, who exactly is this harlot? The highlighted text in Revelation 17:1-2 gives us clues to answering this question. If we can decode them, then we can find answers. Let's take them one after another. Clue number 1, the 7 bowls. Revelation 16 confirms these are bowls of the wrath of God preserved for the time of the end, suggesting that this harlot of Babylon identity will remain active till the time of the end. Clue number 2, harlot. A harlot is an unfaithful woman. A woman in the scriptures is a symbol for the church or people of God. Therefore, an unfaithful woman would imply an apostate church or people of God. In other words, a harlot in this context connotes an apostate church or people of God. But what makes the church apostate? Well, if keeping the commandments of God and holding the faith of Jesus makes a church pure, Revelation 12:17, then substituting the commandments of God and teaching his doctrines, the traditions of man, must constitute what makes a church apostate. Mark 7:7. Therefore, any religious leader or system that today substitutes human opinions or traditions in the place of or above the revealed word of God and the scriptures is towing the line of apostasy. And trust me, you do not want to be there. Clue number 3, sits on many waters. Revelation 17:15 says, The waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. In other words, this apostate church that remains active till the end of time and teaching as doctrines the traditions of men will have a global presence. Clue number 4, commits fornication with the kings of the earth. The kings of the earth will state powers. Fornication means an illicit union. You will remember in the story of Hosea, God used the imagery of Hosea's wife's harlotry to depict the apostasy of the house of Israel, having abandoned their dependence on God, being her legitimate husband represented in the story by Hosea, and formed alliances with other nations worshipping their gods. In this context, the harlot committing fornication with the kings of the earth connotes a similar relationship between Hosea and his unfaithful wife. The church, rather than wholly depending on God, forming an illicit union with the state. So, this apostate church with a global presence that remains active till the time of the end, teaching as doctrines the traditions of men, abandons her dependence on God and God alone, and forms an alliance with the kings of the earth to use state powers in asserting her authority. Clue number 5, drunk with the wine of her fornication. Extrapolating from the experience of the Israelites, each time they formed an unholy alliance with the heathen nations around them. It almost always led to a compromise of their faith, leading to idolatry. So, whenever the pure wine of the gospel is distorted and the teachings of the Word of God are replaced with the teachings of human religious leaders, it becomes the wine of Babylon. In other words, any religious leader or system that substitutes human opinions or traditions in the place of or above the revealed Word of God in the Scriptures is simply fostering the same Babylonian confusion. So, in summary, we have identified the harlot of Revelation 17 and, in extension, Babylon of Revelation 14 as the one apostate church with a global presence that remains active till the time of the end, teaching its doctrines, the traditions of man, encourages the use of images in worship, abandons dependence on God and God alone, and forms an alliance with the kings of the earth to use state powers in asserting her authority. So I urge you to please subject all religious systems, especially yours, to these diagnostic screening criteria and see if they pass the test. Why is all this exercise important? Well, God has passed a judgment of destruction and horror and has left a stern warning for his people. John puts it this way: "Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, unless you receive of her plagues." Please understand, this is not intended to disrespect or offend. Think of it this way: if I was privy to some intelligence briefing about an active volcano within the immediate vicinity of your residence that would erupt in 10 days and engulf everything within 10-mile radius, if I truly be your friend, would you expect me to at least tell you or not? In times of ignorance, God overlooks. But now, you know your choice.